From the galaxy's favorite Jedi being forced to pretend he didn't feel like chucking up, to actors not having any idea at all what was heading their way before stepping foot on set. You simply won't believe what went into making these particular Force-sensitive scenes a reality, but it will likely change the way you look at them forever. Gareth here from What Culture Star Wars, and here are 10 Star Wars scenes even more impressive when you know the truth. Number 10. Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen were not sped up. Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith. Hot on the heels of the pair reuniting within the Star Wars sphere during this year's Disney Plus Obi-Wan Kenobi series, now feels like as good a time as any to remind folks just how damn dedicated Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen were to the lightsaber fighting cause nearly 2 decades earlier. With the Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker actors tasked with taking part in perhaps the most hotly anticipated showdown in the franchise's history up to that point, the duo threw their hearts and bodies into 2 months of fencing and general fitness preparation in the lead up to shooting the climactic Mustafar sequence in Revenge of the Sith. As it goes, the pair's commitment to nailing the choreography led to the stars being able to perform it at such a fierce speed on the day of shooting that their lightsaber combat sequence didn't need to be digitally accelerated in post-production in the slightest. And unsurprisingly, both McGregor and Christensen didn't appear to suffer from any dueling rust upon crossing sabers once again in their recent rematches of the Century or flashbacks either. Number 9. K2SO's line post-slap was not planned. Rogue One, a Star Wars story. It simply wouldn't be the galaxy far, far away without a few beats of unexpected hilarity along the way. However, what perhaps makes the sight of Diego Luna's Cassian Andor getting slapped silly by the consistent source of comedic gold that was Alan Tudyk's K2SO stand out from some of the other side-splitting sequences on show in the series is the fact that a key part of the moment wasn't actually part of the original plan at all. As revealed by the droid actor himself to Star Wars' very own Twitter account, Tudyk's favourite line of "and there's a fresh one of your mouth off again" that followed Luna's idea to be slapped was a purely improvised beat, and it actually caught his co-star so off guard that Luna had to pull a Ewan McGregor and cover his mouth, in order to disguise the fact that he cracked an unintentional smile in the aftermath. It's a subtle moment that many didn't initially catch upon taking in Gareth Edwards' gripping Star Wars story, but once you spot the future Andor leading man genuinely reacting to this unforeseen robot retort, an already enjoyable exchange has undoubtedly made that touch more hilarious. Number 8. Blue milk tasted absolutely rank. Episode 4 A New Hope. As the legendary Luke Skywalker, Mark Hamill has most definitely found himself at the center of some of the most convincing and emotionally charged exchanges the Skywalker saga has had to offer over the years. However, perhaps the most impressive piece of acting the star ever committed to the sprawling series involved Hamill making the masses believe that blue milk was actually an undeniably tasty treat. Hopping all the way back to A New Hope, Luke can be seen taking a gulp of the oddly coloured liquid in the Lars family homestead. But despite not batting an eyelid during the sequence itself, Hamill would later go on record to admit on Twitter that the warm, oily, sickly sweet milk dyed blue from the movie was gag-inducing. Thankfully, by the time he got around to returning to the Skywalker saddle in The Last Jedi, technology allowed Hamill to enjoy a nice glass of coconut milk during the infamous sequence of him creepily swigging a green variety of the fluid, with this milk being given its unmistakable colour in post-production instead. Number 7. Mark Hamill got bitten by a snake during his trip to Dagobah. Episode 5 The Empire Strikes Back. Long before George Lucas relied on CGI to fill out Star Wars' many jaw-dropping locales with creepy critters and otherworldly backdrops, The Empire Strikes Back saw Luke Skywalker land on a swampy Dagobah set that had been very much forged without a green screen in sight. Adding to the authenticity on show, genuine snakes calling the fictional planet home were also thrown into the mysterious mix while shooting, and it was during a scene that saw Mark Hamill's Jedi in training disposing of one of these raging reptiles on his way off-world that the realities of working with animals quite literally bit the actor on the hand. As a behind-the-scenes clip of a take depicting Luke pulling a snake off his trusty X-Wing would expose, Hamill legitimately had a chunk bitten out of his mitt in the making of this movie moment, with the actor later noting again on Twitter, "Snake, blind from molting, flinched every time I touched him. After several takes, he got fed up and effing bit me." The snake clearly wasn't too happy about this particular disturbance in the Force, but that still didn't stop Hamill from sucking it up and getting the sequence in the can in the end, like a true damn pro. Number 6. Kirshner decided to suddenly throw Mark Hamill into a snowstorm. Episode 5 The Empire Strikes Back. And in yet another instance of The Empire Strikes Back being a more painful experience for Mark Hamill than you initially realized, the arrival of a sudden snowstorm provoked an unexpected change of plan that had a rather frosty consequence for the actor. Instead of simply delaying shooting, director Irving Kershner decided to use the genuinely hazardous weather to his advantage, sending his Luke Skywalker out into the thick of the storm outside of the cast and crew's hotel, in order to capture the moments following on from the future Jedi Master's escape from the Wampa Cave. With the director and the majority of the crew all safely tucked away inside of the front of the hotel during said shots, a fearless Hamill was repeatedly sent out into the freezing cold without a protective goggle or mask in sight, as the team behind the camera clinically shouted, "Get a little more snow on his face." In the star's own words via StarWars.com, "You go as long as you could, and then you tried to get in a tent and get warm until they needed you again. Certainly a challenging environment." Yeah, that's one way of putting it. Number 5, a stunt performer was sent flying in full Vader costume. Obi-Wan Kenobi. Despite regularly falling back on LED screen surroundings and still utilizing its fair share of CGI wizardry throughout, one moment during Disney Plus's Obi-Wan Kenobi's rematch of the century serves as a reminder of why it's still hard to top the real thing. With stunt performer Tom O'Connell completely kitted out as the unstoppable Darth Vader during this explosive climax to the series, a piece of behind-the-scenes footage would later reveal that the figure was genuinely thrown into the set, thanks to some ferocious wirework. During the moments Kenobi decides to launch his old friend into the scenery via the Force. It's this sort of gritty detail that adds that little more emotional and physical weight to Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen / O'Connell's duel, making for one of the most hard-hitting and impactful in more ways than one exchanges in the franchise's history. Number 4, Andy Serkis taped his face for Snoke, Episode 8, The Last Jedi. While the Gollum legend may not have been afforded as much screen time as fans would have hoped in the likes of The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi as Supreme Leader Snoke, that still didn't stop Andy Serkis from putting a committed shift in behind the scenes. With the unsettling Force user very much being burdened by some rather horrific facial injuries that resulted in the left side of his face being completely mauled, the actor decided to restrict his own mug in a similar fashion in order to produce as authentic a turn as possible. As Serkis would explain to Entertainment Weekly, his jaw is completely mangled and the left side of his face is mauled, so I had a way of taping down the left-hand side of my mouth to restrict the lip movement on that side. So the next time you take in Snoke spitting venom at Kylo Ren in Episode 8 in particular, just remember that there was very much an actor underneath sporting a no doubt frustrating amount of facial tape during some rather explosive moments. Number 3, Oscar Isaac was slapped 27 times on his first day. Episode 8, The Last Jedi. Oscar Isaac was treated to one of the more painful first days on set during the making of The Last Jedi. Standing opposite the late great Carrie Fisher throughout his first exchange since rapping on The Force Awakens a few years earlier, what may come across as a fairly simple beat of action, being hit in the face by Leia early on, actually took quite some time to fully get in the can. As the actor himself would confess on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert, director Rian Johnson simply couldn't get enough of the emphatic whack to the chops. So much so, Isaac recalled, "I think it ended up being 27 takes of Carrie just leaning in, and every time she'd hit a different part of my face. Trying to react to being hit in the chops out of nowhere over and over again is actually a lot tougher than you'd expect. But instead of showing any signs of flinching or bracing himself for the inevitable repeated impact from this iconic general, Isaac authentically took the shots like a champ, and later noted how surreal the whole experience of being consistently battered by a legendary princess unquestionably was. Number 2, Jabba the Hutt took 7 puppeteers to control. Episode 6, Return of the Jedi. Puppetry and animatronics are nothing new in the galaxy far, far away. However, perhaps the most impressive feat of puppetry ever unleashed onto a set of unfortunate heroes comes in the form of the giant slug of a big bad known as Jabba the Hutt. Taking a staggering 7 people to operate during his iconic showing in Return of the Jedi, the all-round VFX guru that is Phil Tippett managed to unsettle an entire galaxy with his Oscar-winning work on the literal slime ball. Those 7 souls tasked with controlling this instantly iconic space gangster had one hell of a job on their hands during the moments that saw Jabba ordering around his goons and enslaving Princess Leia, with an intriguing diagram later revealing that 2 folks were in charge of the Hutt's arm movements and head/tongue action from within the puppet, and a person was wiggling his tail inside the alien too. Also underneath the puppet was an individual in charge of making Jabba's sides and mouth move. Radio operators controlled the nasty being's eyes, and one last crew member was found gelling up the puppet to produce that lovely slimy look. In short, a lot of work went into being this disgusting. Number 1, Rosario Dawson had no idea what she was walking into. The Book of Boba Fett. With it never being easier to leak mind-blowing spoilers onto the internet at the tap of a screen, the folks behind the latest slices of Star Wars goodness have gone to rather extreme lengths to ensure their incoming secrets remain safe. In fact, it's not uncommon for the Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett executive producer Dave Filoni to just outright lie to one of his own actors. Just ask Rosario Dawson, with the Ahsoka Tano live-action sensation being handed a script beforehand that depicted her character conversing with Master Plo Koon during the Book of Boba Fett. That was most definitely not the case in the end, however, as the actor eventually found out on the day that she would actually be performing opposite Mark Hamill himself in full Luke Skywalker mode, before his iconic character would be digitally tinkered with in post-production, of course. Far from allowing her understandable freaking out energy to get the better of her in the moment, though, Dawson somehow found a way to compose herself in the wake of this sudden glorious swerve and delivered yet another piece of jaw-dropping fan service. And that's our list. Know of any other Star Wars scenes even more impressive when you know the truth? Let us know all about them in the comment section right down below, and do not forget to like, share, and click on that subscribe button while you're at it. Also, if this kind of thing is your bag, then head on over to whatculture.com and find some more awesome articles just like the one this video you're watching right now is based on. I've been Gareth from What Culture Star Wars. May the Force be with you as always. Thank you very much for clicking on this video today, and hopefully I will see you very, very soon. Bye-bye!